live, live stream
Okay.
to you.
Well,
Okay.
welcome to Midori Farm Talk number 11, Art for Ocean Conservation. I'm really lucky to be joined by a wonderful guest today. We're based in Japan. We both live in Kyoto City, but right now she's in Osaka at her exhibition. And she creates artwork of ocean creatures and scenes to help promote conservation and education. And I think they're very accessible to both children and adults. There's some really lovely works we're going to look at today. But before we do, I wanted to give you just a brief background on Midori Farm. My name is Chuck Kaiser, and I live in Kyoto, Japan, as I said. I'm an organic farmer who, besides growing organic vegetables, learning all about that and selling the vegetables and promoting healthy living through eating organics and local, I also try to host events to promote sustainability in many different ways. I do that in the city where I live, plus at my farms in the mountain countryside, and online like this one. So if you want to check out more about that, you can check out my website at midorifarm.net. And also I have a YouTube channel, which is just entitled Midori Farm. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. I hope you watch some other videos. It's a great way for me to spread the word to people all over the world. And that's really a lot of how I learn, is I look at other people's videos as well to get information and inspiration to keep doing the job of promoting sustainability and good things for the environment and promoting wonderful people, much like my guest today. So with no further ado, I'm going to introduce Solveig, our artist for ocean conservation. Solveig, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your work?
Yeah, I'm originally from Sweden and Norway. I'm a Canadian citizen, and I fell in love with the ocean in junior high school as a really young, and I've been drawing since I was a little kid. And for most of my life, I drew things that were right in front of me. I was always interested in illustration rather than anything else. I wanted to show what is, so it was a frog or a bird or a flower. I wanted to show it as it was, without doing anything fancy with it. And then in 2010, in the Gulf of Mexico, the Deepwater Horizon oil rig blew up. And for 3 months, it pumped oil. They couldn't stop it. They pumped oil into the ocean for 3 months nonstop, 24/7. Killed off a heartbreaking number of sea turtles, seabirds, fish, and of course, decimated the fishing industry along the coast there. And as I watched the news, I thought, I'm going to start drawing ocean stuff. Because if I'm going to use nature illustration, then I'm going to do it for the ocean. And nature illustration is really cool because it's a blend of art, science, and education. Most of the stuff that I draw, I include names, I include a little bit of stats. It doesn't have to get really too nerdy about the whole thing, but I want to teach people this is what we still have left to save. This is why I do what I do, because we're losing way too much, way too fast. And most people, when they see the ocean, they see the surface. And there is stuff down below there that is absolutely mind-boggling. So I have started doing the ocean. And, there's the sunlight, twilight, and midnight zones. And what is down there is unbelievably beautiful. And some of it is just, yeah, well, it literally is unbelievable. And it's also really critical. The balance of the whole thing is so critical, which is why I'm standing in front of a mobile, and it's a shark mobile. And, it's not maybe a great mobile, but it's a nice mobile. And it shows how intertwined all of this is. You mess with one side of the scale and everything else goes off kilter. When I make these 1 millimeter to left or right, and the whole thing gets thrown off. And nature is very much like that. You can't mess with one side without messing with the other. And we have become, in some ways, sort of complacent Too many people have been, and the people who are not complacent are working their tail ends off to try to get people to get more involved in how to protect what we still have left to save. And that's why I do what I do.
That is incredible, Solveig. Now, can I ask some technical details? What is your medium?
I use color pencil, and I use color pencils that have a lot of wax content in them. They don't blend easily. Each image has about 4 or 5, sometimes 6 layers. It's a very long process. It's not a quick one. The colors don't blend easily. They're not pastels, and so you can't just sort of smudge them over into each other. But they have these brilliant colors. They have, my brand is Prismacolor, or in Japan they call them Karismakara. And they do have, like I say, a high wax content. The colors are quite powerfully strong. And again, I color usually about 4, 5, 6 layers to get that texture that you can only get through it doing it that way. So you don't see pencil lines.
That's great. Now, what sort of paper do you use? Do you use paper?
Yes, it's on paper, and there again, there are roughly, there's lots of different kinds of paper, but roughly 3 kinds if you're going to use color pencils. You've got you've got watercolor paper, which is kind of, hills and valleys. It's bumpy. Pastel paper, which is still rough, but not as bumpy as watercolor paper. Color pencil paper, it can't be completely smooth. It needs to have a bit of a tooth to it to hold the colors, but it has to be fairly smooth. And so, this color pen, finding the right kind of paper is kind of important. It doesn't work the same on all different kinds of paper. So, I hunt high and low to find the right papers for it. And but I use mostly I do it on white paper, although some of my images I also do it on black paper, especially if I'm talking about deep sea stuff or things that live in the dark.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm no artist, but I know that Japan is quite famous for paper, isn't it? I mean, is paper fairly regularly available for you there?
Yes. And I tend to hate shopping, except when I go into art stores. They have so many different kinds of papers there that, when I walk and I touch and I feel and I think, no, not this one. Oh, there's a good one, so I get all excited. Yeah.
It must be like me in a home center. I'm the same. I hate shopping, but I'm in a home center and I'm good.
Oh, plants, oh, seeds, yay.
Well, okay. I mean, so that's your medium, but let's talk about your subject matter. I mean, how do you come about with the ideas for what you're going to put down with colored pencil and paper?
I get kind of snagged by what it looks like in reality. And I also, like I said earlier, I really want to sort of introduce people to the different zones. You've got the sunlight zone, which is where most people, if they go snorkeling or even scuba diving, because you can go down to a certain depth with scuba, but the sunlight zone is where the sunlight hits. And so you've got a lot of different kinds of life there. But you go down into the twilight zone where the sunlight decreases and it gets into the dark. And it gets into an area where there's no hiding places for things. There's no rocks to hide behind in mid-ocean. And so the stuff that lives down there has adapted to that environment in such unusual ways. And you've got tons of bioluminescence. I mean, I could do a whole series on bioluminescent stuff, because 90% of what lives down in the dark is bioluminescent. And so, I have books and I go through documentaries, and I get really kind of nerdy about the whole thing because I want to learn about it. It's not just enough to see it and to say, yeah, that would make a great drawing. I get excited about what it is and what it does and how it lives and how it survives. And all of it down there, it's all about reproduction, survival, and food. And so what they have done, what all of these critters have done to make it in the twilight zone, we're not even talking about the depths yet. It's just unbelievable. And I know I can get kind of nerdy about this, but it's so much of our planet is ocean. We have one ocean and it's all connected. And there is vast amounts that we know nothing about. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the ocean. A tiny portion has been discovered. And they've got technology now that can go way down. And the cool thing is that they got cameras on board now. And some of them are remote controlled and nobody, unmanned, and others, very few, but there are people that have gone down into the Marianas, not very many. But they go down and down, down, and they've got cameras and they're filming into the black with, they've got lights and stuff. And all of a sudden, something will come sort of past the camera, and they went, oh, what's that? Oh my God, I've never seen that before. And that's the last they see of it. They got one picture. And every couple of weeks, they discover something new that they haven't seen before. And so they take pictures, and I get to see the pictures. And because I can't be right in front of them, I kind of have to draw from the picture, and that just can't be helped. But that way I get to say, hey, look what's down there. Look why we have to take care of this. We can't take it for granted, because if the ocean dies, we are in deep trouble.
That's right.
Okay.
That's so true.
But so anyways, I look at all these pictures and I think, okay, this would make a good picture. This one I can do on black. This one should be done on white. This one I could maybe use metallic pencils for, and this one a bioluminescent something, so yeah. Now,
I have spent a fair amount of time underwater. I'm an accomplished scuba diver, and I've been, well, I want to say all over the world, but that's a bit of an overstatement. But I've been to like 10 or 12 countries underwater, and I just absolutely love it. Now, you have also spent some time underwater, is that correct?
Yeah, I did not a lot of scuba diving, but I did enough to get completely hooked on it. Yeah.
And a fair bit of snorkeling in Hawaii, is that?
Lots of snorkeling. I lived in Hawaii for 18 years. I did a lot of snorkeling. I did a lot of snorkeling also a long time ago when I was on the island of Yoronto, so one up from Okinawa. That was a long time ago now. It's every time you go under, you see something you either haven't seen before, or you see it in a way that, and this because of your diving experiences also. And it's a completely different world down there. It operates on different rules with different parameters. And yeah, underwater is wow. And it can be unforgiving. You can't panic down there because there's nowhere down there,
That's
so
right.
you have to really, it's a different mindset. You go under there,
Well, I have been going down. I mean, I've lived in Japan a long time. I've been going down to Okinawa, to Iriomote Island for over 20 years. And I've been there about 7 times. And I always go to the same beach, Hoshizuno no Hama, Star Sand Beach, which is famous for these there's sand. Yeah, because of the coral. Yeah. Without going to that, but that beach dive, and it's just been by snorkel. I've never used a tank. That beach dive is one of my favorite in the whole wide world. And I got to say, one of the things that really inspired me to try to get you on board for this Midori Farm Talk was, in the 20 years or so that I've been going there, I have seen a vast depletion in the coral there.
Oh, yeah.
It's so terrible. So terrible.
It is heartbreaking. The coral, if anybody watching this gets Netflix, watch the documentary Chasing Coral. It is absolutely heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking for 2 reasons. One, because you can see how beautiful the coral is when it's happy and healthy. And heartbreaking especially because the destruction and how quickly that destruction is happening is just absolutely, it literally is heartbreaking. The people in the test audience for that Chasing Coral movie cried. They caught people just crying in the audience because it was just, you know. And the thing with the coral is, you know, you've got sort of a basic, they got two food sources. They got the algae that lives inside them that makes food during the day when the sunlight hits. And then in the evening, when there is no sunlight, the polyps open and they catch all the marine detritus that comes down from the surface, you know, bits and pieces of stuff. And they open like little flowers and they catch all this stuff. They gobble it up at nighttime. Well, when the ocean warms too much, the algae disappears. They don't know why the algae leaves the coral, whether the coral says go away or whether the algae says, you know what, this is too hot, we're going to go someplace else, or whether the algae dies. But the point is that they lose half their food source. And then the coral gets sick, it gets weak, and eventually the coral dies. And that's not even talking about the dredging and the chemicals and all the other stuff that damages the corals. And so I did a whole series. So when we start going around to look at the images, I've got one wall of a few of the corals that are out there because they are just, you know, there's soft corals and there are hard corals, and they are a critical part of the marine environment. So many animals, so many fish and other things live in the coral reef system. And the coral reef system is also so endangered because it is being taken, the fish are being taken away from the home aquarium trade. And yeah, so there, you know, the coral reef is sort of being, again, the balance is being thrown off because some fish are being taken that shouldn't be taken, and they threw off the balance completely. So yeah, it's in threat, under terrible threat. And
Yeah.
so it's sort of one of those, yeah, sorry, I've got the, yeah, okay, yeah.
That's okay. I know you've got guests there, so if you need to take a moment with them, we understand.
No, the owner of the gallery just came in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so it has the door open, and which means that we're going to get traffic noise here in a second.
that's all right. Maybe this is a good time then to start the tour.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm
whenever you like.
oh no.
All right.
Hang on for a second here.
Now, Solveig has several works on the walls and hanging from the ceiling.
Okay, so this just really, yeah.
That looks great. We got a good view so far of the beach in Hawaii.
Okay, there we go.
Where would you like to start?
Okay, so yeah, then suddenly everything just happened here at once.
No,
So where should we start? Sort of at the far end here, just.
that sounds good. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Can you see this?
Coral.
Right place here?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. So we're just going to go one by one. So this is the, under the full moon, the coral spawns. And they all release their eggs all at once. And fish in the vicinity are thrilled because they got all this food source right there. And I saw it one time. And it was, have you ever seen this? Have you ever been out there at night when they spawn?
I have never seen that. I still have yet to see that.
Yeah. So this is the beluga mom and baby. And this is up in the Arctic. So you got the ice hole above them there. And you can see there a little bit more of the detail. This was done on black paper. You can't see it on, it's hard to see through here, but it's got a nice sort of a smooth waxy content. That's what I like about these pencils. They're kind of waxy. Okay, so moving along, this is the krill. This is sort of a critical part of the environment here because lots of stuff eat the krill. Huge whales eat the krill. Little guys eat the krill. Critical part of the ecosystem. And then you get this weird thing here. This is actually a sponge, believe it or not. It's a deep water sponge called the ping pong sponge. But it's just, I just love this. See, this is why I fall in love with this stuff, you know, and then I can't stop talking about it. So these guys here, the sea angels, are actually voracious predators. They're not very big, but they're kind of fierce predators, but they're also kind of cool. They're little guys. They live in the cold. And then you've got these guys here. These are the Weedy Sea Dragons. They live down south of Australia. And they do this sort of the synchronized dance for 2 or 3 days when they're in the mating season. Get all the detail in there. Okay. Okay, so these are this is part of the zooplankton. This is sort of one step up from the bottom of the food chain. The very bottom is the phytoplankton. This is part of the phytoplankton thing here. These are the diatoms here. And there's a whole bunch of different designs, whole bunch of different shapes and stuff. This is some more phytoplankton. These are plants. Okay, so we're moving along here. So this one here, I remember we did my reflection right here. So this drawing here is actually of the Big Island, Kilo side, Lili'evi Dawn is what I call this one. Lili'evi is the name of the beach. And Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa, that's Mauna Kea and that's Mauna Loa. From the bottom of the ocean, Mauna Kea is the tallest mountain in the world. Even from the surface on up, it's higher than Mount Fuji. I used to snorkel in front of these 3 rocks right here. And that's where the coral is. And that's where the cleaning station is. And the cleaning station has these little cleaner wrasse that hang out. And they're really bold color, they're yellow and purple. And so they hang out and the bigger fish come along for dental work. And they open their mouths and the cleaner wrasse goes in and pick, gets a meal. The bigger fish get their teeth cleaned and any little parasites. And every now and again, like I told you yesterday, it's really cute because sometimes the cleaner wrasse gets kind of carried away and picks too hard. And you can see the big fish going, ow, you know. I used to say, hang over here with my mask and snorkel and just laugh into my mask, you know, as I watch this. Okay, so moving along, this wall here are some of the reef fish. This is the Umaumale. This is the kikakapu, the threadfin butterfly fish. This one here, I don't have the Hawaiian name for. It's the clarion angel. Again, you can sort of see, you know, the color pencil work in there. This is my favorite name of all the fish, La Vili Vili Nuku Nuku Oi Oi, which is a really cool name. But they got these long skinny noses and they hover inside the coral and just pick at algae. And this is the pakui kui. They swim in schools. So you get these black leaves sort of drifting through the ocean. It turns out they're fish, not leaves at all. And I also do charcoal, not charcoal, but just regular graphite pencil. These are blue coral polyps. The blue coral, this kind here, is endemic to Hawaii. And these are the coral polyps. During the day, they're closed up. The algae is hard at work making food, and then in the evening, they will open up and become little flowers. This is the mushroom coral. It's all closed up and tucked away into itself. And this is the table coral. It looks like Turkey. And then it's hard to get to over here, so I don't know if this is going to show up or not, but this is a murex shell that I really got into the detail of it for. I love detail. Okay, so we're going to move along here, and we're going to go to this mobile here, which is slated to be hung over a dear friend's little itty bitty baby who just it's going to be hanging over his crib. I had to blow on it to make it move here. Normally, in a little bit of a breeze, they move. And again, there's the balance. You know, all it takes is to get one little itty movement on one side and it's thrown off. And if even one of these fish were gone, the whole thing would just collapse. It's a metaphor for the reef. It's a metaphor for all of nature. You cannot mess with one side without messing with the other. And so moving along to here, this is one of the many varieties of nudibranchs, this one here. This is a really strange one. And these are some of the ones I did early on. These are some of the tube worms. Sorry, I'm not getting this right. The tube worms, they are down at the black smokers, way, 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 way down in the ocean, down at the very bottom, where the hydrothermal vents come up. Huge ecosystem down there. But this was one of the first ones I started doing underwater things for. And then we're moving around here, and now we've got the Kelp Forest. This is all along the west coast of California and up to BC. These kelp forests, they start at the very, very bottom. They can go for 30, 40, 50 feet up to the surface, where they get leaves that drift on the surface, and where the sea otters like to hang out. They wrap themselves up in the surface leaves, and the current doesn't tear them away. And the problem with these guys is the urchins at the bottom love to eat the holdfasts that the kelp needs, and can decimate the whole kelp forest. So when they killed off all the sea otters who love to eat the urchins, there's that balance again. When they almost killed off all the sea otters, the urchins just multiplied like crazy, and there was a huge deforestation, so to speak, of the kelp forest. Things are slowly coming back into whack now, but a lot of this damage, it takes decades to get better again. So this one here, as from an artistic point of view, I kind of had fun with it because I don't know if you can see, I lifted it off, I lifted these two fish, the Garibaldi fish, off the paper so they cast a shadow. I don't know if you can see that, if that's coming through or not, but that was an experiment. I want to do more of that, where I've got more of a 3D effect where things layer further and further out from the base paper. And then moving along here, you've got a perfect example of symbiosis. You've got the hermit crab inside its little abandoned shell, and you've got the sea anemone on top of it. And the sea anemone helps to protect the crab, and the crab wanders around, so the sea anemone gets lots of food options from. Normally, sea anemones don't wander around very much, so they work together and they're both happy, I hope. And so this one here, this is the mangrove forest. Mangroves are really, really important for a lot of reasons. One of them is that it protects the shoreline from storms and from erosion. And the other one is that they're nurseries. They're nurseries for baby fish like sharks and other little fish that have a safe little hiding place in here to get big, so they can go out into the bigger ocean where there are much bigger fish that will eat them if they're not careful. So mangroves are really cool. They're really, yes. And then this Harlequin shrimp here, it's kind of hard to see what this is, but these Harlequin shrimp, they're really unusual shaped. It's hard to see what part begins and what part ends, but they eat starfish, and they flip them over onto their backs or whatever, yeah. And they start eating them from the arms in. And while they're doing that, they feed them. They throw food into the middle of the starfish because that's how starfish eat. They have the food right in the middle of the tummy. And so they feed them while they're eating them. I know, it's grotesque. Nonetheless, they're also kind of cool. And so this is the mobile. This is the shark mobile here. What I really wanted to make it even bigger, but the shark eats the rays and the skates and the moray eels. The moray eels like to eat what's underneath that again, you know, squid and fish and crab and shrimp. And you go right down to the very bottom and you've got zooplankton and you've got phytoplankton. And that's where it all begins. Without the zooplankton and the phytoplankton, we would not have a marine environment at all. So the wind is in our favor right now. There's the hammerhead shark. It's 80 centimeters long. And yeah, I didn't know if it was going to work or not, but it does. So cool. Okay, so moving along. Now we're getting into land-based, but not, you know, penguins are ocean also. And this is a baby emperor penguin chick. And it stays tucked under the dad's tummy while the mom goes out hunting. And its balance is on the feet. You see the feet down there. And the tummy keeps, the fold on the tummy keeps it warm. And they live up in the, in the snow and the ice, yeah. And then you've got something more up in the snow and that. This one here, this is where the invitation came from. This is the ice hole. This is where that drama of reproduction and food and survival. You've got the babies over here saying, "Come on, Mom, we're waiting." And you got the mom looking down in the ice hole and thinking, I see a seal down there. And the seal's saying, this is probably not the best ice hole for us to catch a breath on today. But this is all color pencil work too. This was kind of cool to do, actually. This one here, the ice hole, yeah. With the mountains in the background there. And then this one here is just like a surface school of fish swimming right underneath that blue of the ocean, you know, just a school of fish. And then you've got this one over here, which is one of the giant clams, the Threadfin clams. They are enormous and they have unbelievable colors. I just chose them in blue just because I like blue. But this one also, and this is kind of hard to see, it's kind of lifted off the paper, and then I mounted it so that you could cast a shadow. I should have done this one on white, but I didn't. And then moving along here, this is the honu, the green turtle, the babies, the keiki in Hawaiian. So these are the honu keiki that are hoofing it to get into the ocean and into safety, but only 1 in 1,000 will make it. Green turtles are endangered. And then you've got, we're getting into the coral wall here. This is the brain coral. And this is the tube coral. This stuff really exists, you know. This is not just my imagination at all. This is for real stuff. And then you've got the soft leather coral. Lots of different kinds of leather corals. They're not all hard corals. And then you've got the red coral, one of the fan corals. One kind of the fan coral there. The light is. And then you've got the table coral, layers upon layers of it, getting down into the blue and into the green. And then you've got the cauliflower coral. This one's kind of cool because there's a certain kind of the Dacillus, little black fish that live around here with big white spots on them. And some of the babies are just the size of my little fingernail. And they hover over the cauliflower coral and they get scared and they go, oh, danger, and they dive down inside it. and then they kind of peek out. I used to hang over them lots and just watch them and just laugh. The male barks. The male makes this really strange little sound. Okay, not quite like that, but it's supposed to chase away the threat. This is a black coral. This is being taken too much again for jewelry and stuff. You know, we have treated the ocean and nature basically as just our little hunting ground. We take way too much. Anyways, don't get me started on that. So this is the famous Nemo. That one sold just the other day, which is nice. And again, symbiosis. The clownfish get protection inside the anemone, and the anemone gets a scoop of leftover food sources from the fish. And that is the images part of the show. And the last thing I'm going to show, I'm going to move this over here. Two things over here. Hang on. Sorry about this. This is a work in progress. This is These are shells that I found at the beach in Shirahama. This is just one of those little, you got the phytoplankton at the bottom, and then there's the zooplankton, and then you've got the krill at the top. This is just sort of one of the table displays here. But if you ever have a chance to find this book, it's called The Deep. And it has some of the most spectacular photos and weird stuff from the ocean. And they go way down. They go way down and they talk about, oh, it's just there's so much interesting stuff down in there. And this is the sticker that I made for putting on the water bottles so that you don't have to buy pet bottles, those dreaded pet bottles that just add to the trash system. Okay, and so aside from that, during the day when nobody's here, I also play my guitar just because it adds the music part of it. But that's it, that's the show. And I hope if anybody's in the Kansai area, the Osaka or Kyoto area, that you have a chance to come down for it. I'm always ready to talk about the ocean, obviously, got a motor mouth. But I really appreciate, Chuck, giving me the opportunity to do this. This is, I want to get the message out there in the same way that you want to get your message out there. So this is awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much for this.
Well, Solveig, that was fantastic. I mean, the way you have everything displayed, it's almost like there's some great order to everything, as to a progression in from the small things to the large things, from the deep things, the corals, the big, the small. There's so much in there. How long did it take you to actually arrange everything like that?
The arrangement, it took a day, but that was a day in situ here, I spent a lot of time at home with my little layout sketchbook and thinking, I'm going to put this here and I'm going to put that there. And then, and there were some changes made at the end, but yeah, it's all sort of part of, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not an artist at all, but I have to think that there are some similarities because we're both producers. I produce vegetables, you produce artworks. And when you go from there to actually trying to sell it or display it or to show it or to talk about it, that's a whole new job. I mean, curated shows is a whole job. Selling vegetables is a whole different line of work for some people. Whereas here, both of us are trying to do both of those things at the same time. It's a real juggling act, isn't it?
It is. And the mentality needed to create a piece of art or create a field of vegetables is a very different mindset from the actual marketing. So my goal from this point on, after the show gets packed up, is to really get into marketing and figuring out how to market this, how to get out there and get the message out there. And I think the way to do it is to get into partnership with people who do that, because there's so much information available that is needed to do it. that if I take away time to learn this stuff, which I'm not saying that I couldn't learn it, but it means that I'm not at the drawing desk doing the images.
That's right. And I mean, you said it right at the beginning. It's such a different mindset. It's almost detracting from the creative processes.
It
So
is.
yeah, I think you could and should go ahead and try to find someone to partner with, or to at least expedite your process to get this out there. And I gotta say, just letting people see the work for themselves is gotta be half the battle right there. Is just so they can actually see what you've got there.
Yeah, well, this is just great. You know, this is just. I think we should continue to work together where we can. And if you have any, if I've got any opportunities to promote healthy living and, you know, vegetable eating and vegan and stuff like that, I will do that also, because we're both doing something that I think is very, very valuable and needs to be expanded upon.
Well,
a total aside, my battery on this camera is running low now.
okay.
We're doing time-wise, but
Okay, well, we're okay for time, but there's a couple of people in our meeting now, Miho and Chris. If you have any questions, you can unmute and ask your questions.
Yeah, thank you for giving me that time. I also love ocean actually, so I love to see what you showed me us, and and it was really beautiful. I can no I noticed that you love the color in the ocean and the creatures, fish and coral, and that I felt you loved them. So yeah, so I'm happy to see that, and probably if I'm living close to the workshop, I should attend, but I'm living in Kanagawa, so probably I cannot. But thank you. I enjoyed it pretty much.
oh, I'm glad. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. I figure that, you know, the more we ocean lovers can just kind of connect and remember how wonderful the ocean is, we kind of spread that message to others also. Because I think the ocean is taken for granted a lot. You know, people tend to sort of see the surface of it and don't think too much about all the other stuff, you know. So ocean lovers unite. That's sort of my my theme.
Catalina Island. Have you ever been to Catalina Island in California?
No.
In there.
I would love to go. I would love especially to go to Monterey Bay. I want to go see all the research facilities they have there. But I have some very good friends that live at Dana Point in California, and so I'm sort of, there's lots of places that I want to visit and see and explore. I've heard a lot about Catalina Island though.
Yeah. I actually there in snorkel. It was beautiful. Sorry, actually, sorry.
Well, I don't think we can catch COVID over Zoom. I don't think that's possible. So I think you're all right. Well, I know, Sovieg, Sovieg, you're almost out of battery. We're gonna get Chris a chance because I know he's got something interesting to ask or say. So.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chris.
Hi, Sophie. Yeah, sorry I arrived late. Yeah, I got the notification suddenly. It's like, oh no, I missed it. But I'm glad to see you. Yeah, I don't have a question exactly, just to show solidarity with the oceans. I'm a scuba diver, and I don't know, can you see, but it's from Vanuatu. So
ocean solidarity is a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I have a question. Back in the day, I was in Indonesia, in Bunaken, and there's a sanctuary there. It's a shark hotspot and coral triangle. And so we, with the local people, tried to make a partnership where they'd stay out. Some fishermen would stay out at night to stop the illegal. Yeah, they'd come in and take all the sharks, right? But it was so.
The shark. 100 million are killed a year.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah.
yeah, and the illegal fishermen would just come in and pay off the guy that we paid and take the sharks anyway. So I have to admit, I felt quite idealistic at first and then quite defeated by the reality. So yeah, keeping.
Have you seen by any chance the documentary Shark Water?
Yes. Yeah.
And Rob Stewart, the guy that made that film, he died apparently using rebreathing equipment.
Yeah.
He was only like in his late 30s. And I'm thinking, really? He died using rebreathing equipment? Are you sure? You know, I thought, given everything that he exposed in that movie, it wouldn't surprise me if there was something nefarious going on there. You know, this was an experienced diver, you know. But that was one of those, like I said, the beginning of the movie where you get all the beautiful shots of the sharks. I went, oh my God, that's just, and then to see that film, the parts of the shark fins lined up by the thousands, that just, oh yeah, no, I have,
Sharks and, yeah, all of them, right.
I can get really kind of cranky about this. I try to be very much a pacifist, but only half of me is a pacifist, the other half pure unadulterated.
Well, that's the question. Yeah, like how far is pacifism going to get you?
Yeah, no, like I said, the other half of me said, no. You know, this is, I'm Viking, man. I come from up north there, you know, so I can get really kind of grumpy about this thing. But it is, I mean, it's really important to kind of just, you know, ocean lovers to keep us connected in whatever way we can. The technology is available for us to, you know, to hook up around the world now.
Yep.
And, you know, to join forces with each other and just kind of get the word out there as much as possible.
Yeah.
You know,
Are you based
because
in Japan?
we're losing way too much, way too fast.
Yeah. Are you based in Japan?
Yeah.
Which part?
Kyoto.
Kyoto. Okay, me too. I'd love to meet you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I live right near Fushimi Inari.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
We'll stay. Okay. If you're in, we'll hook up.
I'd love that.
And my phone's going to die pretty soon now, but that's good to know. But I would love to get together with other ocean lovers. Yes.
Yeah, I have hundreds of questions for you, I'm sure. Okay.
All right.
Okay, well, Solveig, I know you're about to run out of battery, so why don't we make sure we get everything we can from you? And might I say, your Viking spirit is coming through. May the colored pencil be mightier than the sword. I mean, really, the works of art you've portrayed here have really given people a deeper understanding and connection with those very vital, important creatures that are dying off every year. And like you said about the sharks, there's things that we can do about it. There's funds that we can give to. There are campaigns. There are lots of efforts going on, initiatives all across the world to try to save the coral and the oceans, because they're responsible for most of the oxygen we breathe. So, I mean, the heating of them is really creating a desperate situation for the whole planet.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So I am fully behind you, and I love what you say. I love what you do. And you asked about if we could ever collaborate. Well, I gotta say, when I did one of my fantastic farming podcasts with John, and you said, why doesn't anybody create a gardening class in English? I'm doing that next year because of your words. I mean, it just kindled a spark that was kind of already warming up in me. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to invite you to be my guest artist to help the kids and the adults.
Great.
Yes.
That's great, because the best way to learn about nature is through the hand and a pencil.
Yes.
And the more you draw, the more you draw, the more you learn, the more you learn, the more you love, and the more you love, the more you want to protect. And there's the golden ring right there. Okay, well, this has been awesome.
Thank you so much
for the opportunity, Chuck. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
and we'll hook up with you soon on Facebook.
Absolutely. And Miho and Chris, thank you for joining.
Yeah.
And if you want to know more about Solveig, how do people learn more about you? Do you got a website or something like that?
I'm working on the website right now. You want to, if you're on Facebook, go into Solveig Studio.
Okay.
2 S's in the middle. Yeah.
Okay. Solveig Studio.
Okay. Yeah. I've also got, so let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay,
Wonderful. Sorry I joined late, but Chuck, thanks for organizing this because
no worries. It
it's
was
exciting when you
absolutely
succeeded and
my
you realize
pleasure.
that yeah, there is people out there. We're not alone.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
not at all. Not at all. Okay, everyone. Thanks for joining. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Check out some other videos and send me a message about some things you'd like to see. And if you know of any wonderful people doing something sustainability wise, let me know. Maybe I can get them on the show and we can help promote them as well. Until the next time, have a great day and hope to see you next time.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.